The Tatva Intimacy Compatibility of Nakshatras, Ashlesha Nakshatra. Ashlesha Nakshatra is a water tattva, nakshatra ruled by Mercury, with the serpent deity Naga as its presiding force. When Venus occupies Ashlesha, intimacy becomes hypnotic, psychological, and deeply transformative. Ashlesha's sensual nature is entwined with emotional control, vulnerability, and psychic bonding. Venus here expresses love through emotional envelopment, seductive charm, and at times, possessive closeness. As a water nakshatra, it seeks complete emotional merging, yet its compatibility depends on how its fluid emotional intensity interacts with the groundedness or volatility of other tattvas. With Earth tattva nakshatras, Ashwini, Bharani, Kritika, Rohini, and Mrigashirsha, Venus in Ashlesha finds grounding, stability, and a dependable sensual framework. Earth helps regulate Ashlesha's emotional extremes, providing tactile reassurance and predictability. These unions are built on trust, loyalty, and physical security. Earth partners give Ashlesha space to unravel its emotional layers gradually. However, if the Earth partner is too rigid or unexpressive, Ashlesha may begin to manipulate emotional outcomes to feel in control, which can distort the purity of intimacy. With other water nakshatras, Pushya, Punarvasu, Magha, and Purva Falguni, Venus in Ashlesha finds emotionally intuitive compatibility. These pairings deepen emotional intimacy and mutual psychological understanding. Intimacy becomes a layered experience, soothing, seductive, and emotionally immersive. The risk in such unions is emotional entanglement or toxic codependency if both partners are not emotionally mature. Without clear boundaries, water-water combinations can become cyclical and emotionally exhausting, even if the sensual closeness is strong. Fire tattva nakshatras, Chitra, Swati, Vishaka, Anuradha, and Uttara Falguni, create significant tension for Venus in Ashlesha. Fire's directness and demand for transparency conflicts with Ashlesha's emotionally complex, secretive style. These pairings may feel passionate but unstable. Intimacy can become reactive or power-based. Fire may interpret Ashlesha's emotional subtlety as manipulation, while Ashlesha may feel burned by Fire's insensitivity. Over time, passion may turn into a power struggle, especially in emotionally intimate or sexual contexts. Pairings with air tattva nakshatras like Mula, Jyeshtha, Purva Ashada, Uttara Ashada, and Shravana often result in emotional detachment and miscommunication. Air seeks logic and detachment, whereas Ashlesha dives into emotional nuance and unspoken currents. Venus in Ashlesha may feel unacknowledged, emotionally bypassed, or intellectually dismissed in such relationships. These unions lack emotional grounding, which is essential for Ashlesha's intimate expression. Unless supported by strong synastry between Moon and Venus, intimacy remains superficial or misaligned. Ether tattva nakshatras, Revati, Shatabisha, Dhanishta, Purva Bhadrapada, and Uttara Bhadrapada offer expansive and healing connections for Ashlesha's Venus. Ether accepts water's intensity and transforms it into higher emotional purpose. These combinations often lead to karmic unions, where intimacy transcends control and becomes a medium for emotional liberation. Ashlesha's tendency to bind emotionally can soften under Ether's universal perspective, allowing for intimacy that is spiritual, forgiving, and emotionally balanced. Among all tattva pairings, fire and air are most destabilizing for Ashlesha. Fire may inflame its emotional fears, and air may invalidate its psychological complexity. This can lead to secretive behavior, passive-aggressive intimacy, or withdrawal. Unless planets like Jupiter or the Moon are well-placed to provide emotional maturity, these combinations usually lead to emotionally unsafe dynamics for Ashlesha Venus. Venus in Ashlesha thrives in partnerships with water tattvas that mirror its emotional depth, and earth tattvas that offer stable containers for its transformative intimacy. Ether tattvas provide the highest potential for spiritual and emotional evolution. However, fire and air lack the containment and sensitivity that Ashlesha craves, making tattva alignment essential for sustaining intimacy that is both passionate and emotionally safe. The Tatva Intimacy Compatibility of Jyeshtha Nakshatra. Jyeshtha Nakshatra belongs to the air tattva and is ruled by Mercury with Indra, the king of gods, as its deity. When Venus is placed in Jyeshtha, intimacy takes on an intense, intellectual, and emotionally layered quality. Venus here operates through psychological insight, emotional self-protection, and strategic vulnerability. Jyeshtha seeks emotional command and control in relationships, preferring intimacy that involves mental understanding, earned trust, and sometimes subtle power dynamics. As an air Tatva Nakshatra, Jyeshtha's compatibility is determined by how its cerebral and analytical intimacy nature pairs with the emotional or physical nature of other elements. With Earth Tatva Nakshatras, Ashwini, Bharani, Kritika, Rohini, and Mrigashirsha, Venus in Jyeshtha finds grounding and practicality. Earth provides stability and consistent affection, giving Jyeshtha the confidence to slowly open up. These combinations result in a steady but cautious intimacy where physical loyalty and structured routines help settle Jyeshtha's emotional insecurities. However, Earth's slower emotional processing can at times frustrate Air's analytical speed or communicative need, especially when Jyeshtha is seeking validation through subtle gestures rather than overt romantic expression. With water Tatva Nakshatras, Pushya, Punarvasu, Ashlesha, Magha, and Purva Falguni, Jyeshtha experiences elemental conflict. Water seeks emotional merging and unspoken empathy, while air, especially in Mercury-ruled Jyeshtha, operates through logic and verbal processing. Venus in Jyeshtha may appear emotionally reserved or distant to water partners, leading to misunderstandings or misinterpretations of intent. Jyeshtha's deep emotional caution clashes with water's fluid emotional flow, making it difficult for intimacy to settle into emotional trust unless strong Venus-Moon conjunctions or aspects are present. With other air tattvas, Mula, Purva Ashada, Uttara Ashada, and Shravana, Venus in Jyeshtha functions with mental ease, conversational depth, and shared detachment. These pairings thrive on mutual respect for boundaries, verbal stimulation, and emotional autonomy. Intimacy here is defined less by dramatic emotional expression and more by subtle emotional understanding and companionship. However, the risk is a lack of emotional warmth or physical intimacy, as both partners may intellectualize closeness rather than feel it fully. Pairings with fire Tatva Nakshatras Chitra, Swati, Vishaka, Anuradha, and Uttara Falguni bring elemental cooperation and movement. Fire energizes air, while air adds perspective and balance to fire's expressiveness. Venus in Jyeshtha finds passion, excitement, and motivational connection in these unions. Fire's boldness helps melt Jyeshtha's guarded heart, while Jyeshtha offers strategy and depth to fire's spontaneity. These pairings can result in compelling chemistry with emotional and physical evolution, though care must be taken not to bypass vulnerability with logic or ego-driven control. Ether Tattva Nakshatras, Revati, Shatabisha, Dhanishta, Purva Bhadrapada, and Uttara Bhadrapada are uniquely suited to help Venus in Jyeshtha dissolve rigid intimacy patterns. Ether softens air, allowing intuitive and spiritual trust to replace psychological defense. These unions often offer Jyeshtha the opportunity to transcend the need to protect and instead surrender to karmic or soul-level love. Intimacy here becomes healing, subtle, and anchored in higher consciousness rather than logic or power. Water partners are often the most emotionally difficult match for Venus in Jyeshtha. While they offer emotional availability, their method of connection clashes with Jyeshtha's analytical or self-contained approach. Water may feel emotionally unseen, and Jyeshtha may feel overwhelmed or invaded. This can result in detachment, passive conflict, or emotional undercurrents that go unspoken for too long. Venus in Jyeshtha thrives with air nakshatras that respect mental autonomy, fire nakshatras that encourage bold expression, and ether nakshatras that guide emotional surrender and higher bonding. Earth provides useful grounding but may feel emotionally stiff to Jyeshtha over time. Water, despite its depth, often disrupts Jyeshtha's intimacy rhythm. For intimacy to flourish, elemental harmony must support Jyeshtha's deep emotional caution while gradually drawing it toward trust, presence, and open-hearted connection. The Tatva Intimacy Compatibility of Nakshatras. Revati Nakshatra is an ether Tatva Nakshatra ruled by Mercury with Pushan, the divine guide and protector of the soul's journey, as its presiding deity. When Venus is placed in Revati, intimacy becomes compassionate, transcendent, and deeply imaginative. Venus here seeks emotional union that feels divinely orchestrated, gentle, selfless, and attuned to soul purpose. As an ether Tatva Nakshatra, Revati naturally harmonizes with all other elements, making Venus highly adaptable, but also spiritually selective. It desires intimacy rooted in emotional faith, inner safety, and subtle devotion. With Earth Tatva Nakshatras Ashwini, Bharani, Kritika, Rohini, and Mrigashirsha, Venus in Revati finds solid grounding and physical care. Earth brings sensual comfort and stability, allowing Revati's dreamy, fluid nature to feel secure and supported. These pairings work well when Earth respects Revati's emotional and spiritual sensitivity. The relationship flourishes when Earth provides consistent affection without becoming overly rigid or trying to define what is meant to be intuited. Practical devotion here supports etheric emotional flow. With water tattva nakshatras, Pushya, Punarvasu, Ashlesha, Magha, and Purva Falguni, Venus in Revati enters emotional synchrony, where feeling is the first language. These unions are emotionally enriching, psychically attuned, and often karmic in nature. Water supports ether's flow through compassion and emotional nurturing. Venus in Revati becomes deeply fulfilled in these connections, as long as emotional boundaries are respected. Too much emotional merging or drama may cause withdrawal, as Revati prefers subtle, soulful stillness over chaotic emotional waves. With air tattva nakshatras, Mula, Purva Ashada, Uttara Ashada, and Shravana, Venus in Revati enjoys space, communication, and freedom of emotional expression. Air offers Revati a sense of detachment that allows it to process emotion without being overwhelmed. These relationships are ideal when both partners value individual growth and can navigate intimacy without pressure. The challenge may lie in air's intellectualizing of emotion, which can make Venus in Revati feel unseen or spiritually disconnected unless mental clarity is paired with empathy. Fire Tattva Nakshas Chitra, Swati, Vishaka, Anuradha, and Uttara Falguni bring vitality, movement, and inspiration to Venus in Revati. Fire excites Revati's idealism and helps translate love into action or creative pursuit. These unions can be dynamic and illuminating if fire tempers its assertiveness and honors Revati's inner emotional world. If fire dominates or demands constant validation, Venus in Revati may feel emotionally scorched or misunderstood. These pairings flourish when passion is rooted in compassion and when emotional timing is mutually respected. With other ether tattvas, Dhanishta, Shatabisha, Purva Bhadrapada, and Uttara Bhadrapada, Venus in Revati finds its most soulful matches. These pairings are ethereal, intuitive, and spiritually guided. Intimacy transcends words, built instead on energy, shared silence, and inner recognition. Physical expression is gentle and sacred, arising from emotional alignment rather than physical drive. These unions often feel fated or karmically significant, evolving slowly but profoundly. While ether adapts well, Venus in Revati faces challenges when paired with elements that are too forceful, demanding, or emotionally inconsistent. Fire may move too quickly, earth may resist emotional fluidity, and air may remain emotionally shallow unless consciously deepened. Water can be deeply nourishing, but requires boundary awareness to avoid emotional diffusion. Venus in Revati thrives with ether and water nakshatras that meet it in subtlety, empathy, and spiritual devotion. Earth offers stability when softened with emotional awareness. Fire energizes with care, and air offers space when paired with presence. For love to endure here, intimacy must feel like sanctuary, a quiet, soul-nourishing space where emotional honesty, grace, and intuitive trust are honored above all else.